Hello. Welcome to the 17th of Decem-Baron 2020. Today's going to be a bit of a sort of a hodgepodge of different things. So I was going to talk at length about the different other tabletop role-playing games I've played. But then I thought I didn't have a lot to say because a lot of the times when I played them, they were kind of like shorter campaigns or like shorter adventures and things like that. So I won't say a whole lot about those. I also think it's been a while since we've had a poetry day here for Decem-Baron 2020. So I'm going to share a bit of that, and then I have a question for all of you at the end. So first of all, what other tabletop role-playing games have I played besides Dungeons & Dragons? Well, first of all, I should mention that there are thousands of tabletop role-playing games out there, maybe even hundreds of thousands, because there are all the popular and well-known ones. There's Dungeons & Dragons. I played Numenera, which is this cool like blend of fantasy and sci-fi that's like 9,000 years in the future. So it is sci-fi, but it's so sci-fi that it's fantasy, basically. The technology is so advanced that it's indistinguishable from magic, as the quote goes. I've played Call of Cthulhu. I've played Pathfinder with this sort of epic story that, by epic I mean it all happened in like one city, but my character for it, Presta Arcane, she had this really cool journey where she discovered this lineage that she had, and that she was the rightful ruler of the corrupt city, and so she the rulers were deposed and she became the new ruler and all that stuff. There's another really cool game out there called Corporia, which is imagine if Cyberpunk met King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. It's a very, very Corporia by Mark Clemens is a very, very cool game and a very cool setting that I was happy to have been able to play around with for a little bit. That combines the Arthurian legend with futuristic and futuristic corporations, all like gleaming cyberpunk stuff. Really, really cool. There are technomancers. There are there's old magic. There's knights. There's parkour runners. And really cool stuff. I've also played a game called Wrath and Glory, which is a it's a Warhammer 40k tabletop RPG. I think there are several out there, and Wrath and Glory has to do with it was more convoluted than Pathfinder, honestly. The version I played was out of print now, but I heard that there's a better version coming out in the near future. Oh, or maybe it is out now, I don't know. But there's Wrath points and Glory points or something like that. It's all this Warhammer 40k stuff. I've played Legend of the Five Rings, which is a really, really cool set, the 5th edition. It's a really, really cool setting. That's a game that's been taken up by Fantasy Flight Games, which is also the publisher of Edge of the Empire, which is, I'll talk about that in another day. Edge of the Empire is a Star Wars game, a tabletop RPG. But Legend of the Five Rings is it's basically feudal Japan, except it's not actually Japan. It's a fantasy version of Japan called Rokugan. And there are these 5 rings which represent the 4 elements plus void. And there's just some really cool storytelling mechanics in it. If you like samurai, Japanese monsters and culture and things like that, the different clans, really, really cool game. And the artwork in the book is gorgeous. Character creation is fun because you answer these 20 questions, things like that. Lots of other indie games. I played one about World War I airplanes. Played another about there are also tabletop RPGs out there that are setting agnostic. Basically meaning you can play it. I mean, for some of these other games for some of these other games like Dungeons and Dragons, you can play a game of Dungeons and Dragons however you want, but it is typically considered a fantasy setting for Dungeons and Dragons, right? Same with fantasy for Pathfinder, which is sort of an offshoot from Dungeons and Dragons, at least at first, but it became its own thing. Call of Cthulhu is modern day, or like early 1900s, whatever you or whenever you want, with cosmic horrors. Corporia has a certain setting for it, Wrath and Glory, and so on and so forth. But a lot of tabletop RPGs out there don't care about setting. You can play it in anywhere you want, whether that be a steampunk campaign or a fantasy or sci-fi or whatever. It's just like these set of rules and everything. You can go to a website called Drive Through RPG. The word drive and then THRU, and then the letters RPG. So Drive Through RPG. That's the name of the website, and that's where you can find all kinds of you can find and order all kinds of PDFs and physical books. A lot of them paid, but also a lot that are free as well. You can just you make an account. I have too many tabletop RPGs in my PDF library, and there's also a similar thing for Dungeons and Dragons DM's Guild, which has a lot of modules and races and classes that people outside of Wizards of the Coast have made. So yeah, there's a whole world of tabletop RPGs out there. If you are interested in a collaborative storytelling sort of game, honestly, chances are, it's pretty much guaranteed there's a game out there that would interest you. And also, they're all different kinds of formats as well. Most popular tabletop role-playing games have a dungeon master or a game master. However, there are GM-less games out there, ones that don't have a single game master, ones where the players work together in different ways to create the story and create conflict and things like that. So lots of really cool stuff out there. And I think that's all I'll say about that. Like I said, I didn't have a whole lot to share. I think it might be fun, though, to share some... I consider myself a sort of like amateur poet. What I mean by that is I have written poetry before. And I don't think I've ever stopped writing poetry. It's just I wrote some poems earlier this year. Even I made an election poem. It's on this YouTube channel for this year. So I really love poetry. I love reading it. I love writing it. I think it's a very fascinating medium and form of expression. And I think it's perfect for someone like me who loves words. And also I also love music, and so the lyrics of a song are also poetry. I wrote a lot of poems in high school and college, and so I'm not going to read everything I wrote during that time, especially not today. But I will have more to share later in other days. Today, though, I'll focus on the one might say cringeworthy. The poetry I wrote in high school, which you might argue is cringeworthy, but I had fun at the time and everything. And also, not all this is poetry either. I also wrote some screenplays, like very, very, very short scripts as well. So I'll just read some to you guys for fun. So let's see here. So a lot of these poems came out of my 10th grade English class, or actually 10th grade English class, or I took a creative writing class my senior year, I believe, in 12th grade. So a lot of these probably also came from that as well. But most of these poems came from just like a specific prompt in one of those classes. For example, I have, I think, 3 here about oranges. And the reason for that is I think we were prompted to write something about write a poetry without using imagery, and then write a poem using nothing but imagery, or things like that. So I chose, for some random reason, an orange. I don't remember why I did, but I did. So, I don't remember why I wrote a 3rd poem about oranges, but it was around the same time, and I think I just felt inspired to do another one. And also, I enjoy oranges more now, but at the time I didn't like eating oranges. I loved orange juice, and I still do, but at the time I didn't like the weird, pulpy feeling of eating an orange slice. But now I'm much more open to it. But then I didn't really so much. But anyway, here we go. The 3 poems are called The Orange, a brief overview, The Image of an Orange, the one that's overflowing with imagery, and then there's an orange without image. I'll read an orange without image first before the image of an orange But the first one I'll do the orange, a brief overview. My orange has a sweet smell. Its tactile hate towards me is too distinct. It refuses to give up its colorful peel to me. I long to taste it, to love it. Orange, 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 orange. Apple! and that's the end of the poem. The orange, a brief overview. I think I was also complaining in this poem about how hard it was to peel an orange. I prefer clementines now a lot more. But anyway, yeah, I actually made the font smaller with the orange. Apple. I don't know why I wrote apple at the end. Oh, I got a message. Let me briefly finish this here. I'm cooking dinner, so I was making sure my wife was. I made sure I told my wife that I finished with the. We have something cooking on our crock pot right now. So cool. All right, great. So yeah, moving on to an orange without image. This was I had to write a poem about without using imagery. So, orange. What about it? Wait, what is an orange? Sorry, my mind won't function today. Okay, try again. Orangutan. Ugh. Let's just try something else. How about sports? Here I am at a basketball court with a basketball in my hands that. Dang it! Orange again. No, please, stay away. It's haunting my mind. Ah! Okay. Calm down. Saturn, Walmart, the sun, baseball, Gatorade, orange-colored Sharpie. No! Apples, number 2 pencils, sunflowers, citrus. I see orange flash before my eyes. That's all I see is orange. I was just being silly. And then here is the image of an orange with nothing but imagery. At least what I thought as a high school student what imagery was. That sweet, fresh, pungent, ripe, orangey fragrance teems with a life of its own. How plump and ripe my fresh orange is. I long to sink my teeth into its naturally pleasant flavor and let juice of gold drip from my lips like thick honey. Even with the fragrant peel off its complexion, its intricately woven fibers of flavor has never been so appallingly appealing. Soft, I will keep the bright skin of my orange and marvel at the smooth, beautiful planes of texture so skillfully plastered on such a heavenly orb as this. Oh, how marvelous and wonderful is the deep, fresh, ripe flavor of an orange. Orange. So yeah, don't read too much into any of those. I was just being silly just the whole time. So, yeah. Anyway, those are my orange poems from high school. What is, let's see here. Yes. Here's a fun one. I wrote this when I was 16 years old. How to survive for 16 years. Your first 5 years and 2 thereafter. And actually, so, hold on, before I get into this. I wrote this with the intention of, so this was my 10th grade English class. How to survive for 17 years. Okay, yeah. So here, this is sort of like, sharing my thoughts and testimony of life in general. But yeah, your first 5 years and 2 thereafter should be like heaven on earth because, after all, you've just moved here. You need some time to get used to a new home, new school, new friends, new family, a new life. But you'd better wise up when those years are done, because at 8, you're already halfway there before you get to that sweet and sour age of the big 1-6. So now you're just starting to make your own choices. You're starting to see how life works. But you're still a kid, so just chillax a bit. You may feel cool at 9, 10, or 11. You have friends to play with. Enjoy it while you can, while you're still just a kid. Whoa, how old are you? 12? Walking with the big kids now, huh? Now you're away from home half the time with soccer, violin lessons, sleepovers, school, and all that, how do you band kids put it? Jazz. At this age, you believe your buddies are BFF for life. You start to feel like the world revolves around you. Now you're learning more at school than at home, especially when you're just getting by in the 7th and 8th grade. You amaze your parents by reciting the times tables or discussing the Socratic method. It's cool to feel grown up. You're on top of the world. Again, I say, enjoy it while you can, before the world turns upside down. And you're nothing but a little nerdy freshman milling about the hallways, pushing and shoving, trying to convince everyone that you even exist. Suddenly, you see how naive and stupid you really were as a kid. Welcome to the real world. For real. Oh, you didn't make the team? Too bad. Deal with it. Around here, seniority rules. Everyone's gonna give you only as much as they think you're worth. Oh, you want to quit now, huh? Backing out? Want to move somewhere else? Think life's not worth the trouble? Well, guess what? It is! Didn't think I was gonna say that, huh? True, life's not all ponies and rainbows. But I know there's a whole lot more than a pot of gold waiting for us at the end. We're all here for a reason, right? Don't ask me what that reason is. I haven't learned that yet. But what I have learned is enough for me to see that there's something more. Something that drags us out of our deepest and darkest valley. Call it destiny, call it your guardian angel, call it God, call it whatever you want. But don't say it's meaningless. Don't say it's not worth it. Because that just shows how much you don't see. You gotta look past the darkness, over the hills. So when your job's done down here, you can look back with gratitude. After all, aren't we all here to be happy? So yeah, even at age 17, when I wrote that, I believed in gratitude. Let's see, a few more fun poems here. Some of these poems, I don't even remember why I wrote them. They don't make a lot of sense to me. But let's see here. All right. I do also have some of the little short plays and essays I wrote in high school. I may or may not share them. I don't know. It's just what I feel like sharing today. Oh dear, I have so many DMs. Okay, it's just Alright, yeah, so I'll get to those DMs in a little bit. I wrote a fun little poem called Time Out, with time spelled Tyme. I was in timeout in school once, and that was in kindergarten because I broke the rule of talking when you weren't supposed to, basically. We were supposed to travel from our snack time tables to our seats around the teacher, and we weren't supposed to talk. We were supposed to go there in a quiet and orderly manner. I was stepping over some kids to get to my spot, and because we were all sitting on carpet squares on the ground, and I said, "Oops, excuse me, guys," and because I talked there, in my silly politeness, I was in timeout. I remember, and so it seemed silly to me at the time, even then, and it seems silly now. And I mean, it's not a big deal, right? It didn't harm me or anything. I just oh well, I guess that counts as talking. Even though I was trying to be polite or whatever. The kids I remember looking over and seeing that the teacher's aide was kind of teaching about what same and different mean, and I'm like, oh, I already know that. So that's what this poem is about, and I intentionally misspelled a bunch of words and everything, to make it seem like it was a kid writing this, but I'll just read it. Sitting from the outside looking in. What did I do wrong? All I did was talk a little. Why do we have this no talking rule anyway? Look, all the other kindergarten kids are learning same and different. I already know that. My mommy taught me. But now I have to wait until my time is done. I won't do it again, I promise. And that's the poem. I'll also mention that the How to Survive Life for 17 Years poem, I was inspired by slam poetry because that's what we were learning about in English class at the time. And I'm like, ooh, what if I wrote something that sounded cool and hip or whatever? That inspired some of the, like, you know, sort of some of the language in that particular poem in the Survived Life for 17 Years one. Here's a poem that's titled She Walks in Beauty Like the Night. Basically, we were meant to take a poem and rewrite some of the words. I don't remember what this poem is based off of, but here are my words for this. She walks in beauty like the night, a gown of black which sparkles bright, a face as pale as the moonlight. Though at first glance her beauty is splendid, enough to outshine Artemis's crown. But don't be fooled, for she can kill. Her life has been stained with horror and grief. She walks in beauty like the night. Her shadow in darkness is shown in sight. As pale as the moon, her eyes glazed with fright. When she walks, she stares blankly. Her life has taught her not to love. So stay astray from her uncertain path and find another beauty with a heart to give. She walks in beauty like the night. If real emotion lingers, only slight. Pale moon reluctant to give light to the lady who walks in beauty like the night. So yeah, all I did was just come up with some picturesque scenario in my head, and I just wrote something like that. So that's it. That's the poem. Let's see here. What else? Oh yeah, so I wrote a couple of fun poems about like my feelings about, like, I was a theater kid in high school, so I'll share some bits of the poems from these. Like, I walked to the theater after dinner, a December wind running through me, leaving me cold and anxious. Then I arrive at the theater, warmed me with a welcome hug, giving me hope and comfort. The theater fills with people. I stand behind the curtain, suddenly scared and lonely. Then I hear the theater whisper, encouragement and support. The curtain rises. So, yeah, and then I think I wrote another poem at some point about, like the room the theater was in or something, and, like, talking about the different, you know, the different, like, you know, looming shapes of the set and everything. But anyway, I don't have that here, like, now. But I'll move on to some of my other poems. Here's another one. I think I wrote this poem, like, it was inspired by, so I had been to only a handful of high school parties, and I was always sort of like the wallflower. I was like the weird, anxious kid off to the side. I didn't know how to socialize, and everyone else seemed to be having fun, and I was just, like, alone. And so I kind of vent some of this frustration out in this particular poem. It's a bit extreme and a bit cringy to me now, but I'll read it anyway. One lonely night, as I did ponder, a young son of mine goes out to wander. He pleads with me to let him go. My poor heart ached. Please don't say no. For him, his friends would like to greet, as does his girl, so youthful and sweet. Out 10 blocks down, a 2-mile drive, to laugh and be merry till 5:30. 2-mile drive? 2-minute drive, I guess. I say to him, boy, don't take it for granted, for nights like this seldom go as imagined. I've been there, you see, I've done all that, so just hear me out, son, and then you may go. For I was alone, oh, all alone, my dear boy. While I saw all around, up and down, there was joy that I could not know of, so awful it was. As I stood there, was swallowed by jealousy's jaws. I too was accepted to a party like yours. 2 hours till midnight I walked through those doors. I stood there a moment to take it all in. All the talk, all the noise, all the ruckus and din. I noticed quite soon I knew everyone's name, what they love, what they loathe, and each one's claim to fame. I longed to be with them, to share in their laughter. What I found then and there I would know ever after. The introvert man, the kind that I am, often wishes in vain to not be the black lamb, but only in vain if you put yourself down and continue to wander in loneliness town. My moral is this. When you go through that door, don't be jealous of others. Don't cry out for more. As you laugh and are merry, still keep with you joy, so you don't be as I was. I was alone. I was a lone boy. Another poem that we were asked in class to rewrite was, again, I don't remember what the original poem was, but I replaced a bunch of words in there, and so I titled this one "In Memoriam, Replaced and Gone." I think the title of the poem, the original poem, was "In Memoriam." So here's what I wrote. He sees not happy noise with war, for sadness finds on thick and thin. No other way that Mars's stare may catch with us can bring him joy. Far gone compassion thinking on, from love to death the boy proceeds, and dead are but the final hopes or shattered dreams of home. Nor can he love because he sees the lives of adults out of work. Their bright, unknowing little ones won't give to laughter anymore. For story nights on guns he slept, the moons that sprinkle on in him rest. I get my sleep with sadness deep. I then regret, now I decry. I think I was trying to make some sort of war poem of some kind, even though I didn't have any like direct experiences with that. Here's one that I'm actually like still kind of proud of, as you know, insofar as I'm proud of that one can be proud of any high school poetry. I have this one called "Once Upon a Misty May," and I was inspired by some music in choir, and I imagined like I had like the music that some of this music that we sing in choir. I imagined like this castle, like in sort of like a misty in the misty Irish hills, and that there was this person, I think I named him Tommy or something, who would go to this castle and to play and whatever. And there were these 4 statues, and I imagine each statue being named after something. Like I had each statue as a voice part. There was I think I had like Sophia, like SATB, like Trevor and Sophia something, Trevor and something, soprano, alto, tenor, bass. But anyway, that somehow this weird little world, kind of. Oh, hold on, give me a second. Hello, what's going on? What? All right. Yeah, I'll take a moment to do that. Okay. Right. So yeah, I'm finishing up a video right now, and I'll do that. Will do. All right. Bye. Bye. Cool. My wife being a little paranoid that the chicken is cooked. I'll do that in just a few moments. After I'm finished with this. So yeah, here's the poem. And I even set music to this as well, but anyway, that's not the point. Here we go. Once upon a misty May, on a lonely mount back home. Actually, you know what? I'll sing it as well. Once upon a... You know what? No. Sorry. I'll sing the melody that I had for the first 2 stanzas, but then I'll just read the rest of it. Once upon a misty May, on a lonely mount back home, I took walks along the way at the place I used to roam. Looking towards that mount up high, I search my memory, for long ago, for years gone by, a castle by the sea. Heck with it, I'll sing the whole thing. Friends, this castle years ago was where I went to play. Went exploring to and fro, discovering more each day. Father told me many a tale about my age-old fort, of noble knights who never fail to win at war and sport. But my favorite tale of all, the one of Sir Paulin, He was brave and stiff and tall and had a charming grin. See, Pauline was good and kind and loyal to his king, but when at war, oh, one would find his flawless might in fighting. Then there came the day of woe, Pauline could not be found. He was slain by an armored foe, his sword flat on the ground. On that day my castle mourned, its tears formed clouds of mist, and thus this castle's name was formed, the Crying Fort of Mist. Vapor grey and thickly damp concealed the Crying Fort. When climbers came to set up camp, they couldn't see more than a foot. Time went by and years have passed since I've explored its halls. Thus time wore down the stone at last, now crumbled and torn are its walls. Now as I walk down the trail by the lonely mount back home, I glance through the misty veil towards the place I used to roam. And I think that will do it. The next time I share some of my poetry, I will share stuff that I wrote in college, things that I'm much more proud of than high school poetry. But there you go. Thank you for being here. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care. All the best.